from goods have to be moved from, say, roads to the ships, to the rail, again, back to the roads. And this has its own issues, but, along with hard infrastructure, I think measures have to be taken to look into how you can actually look into how this process of transfer through corridors, transfer through borders, multiple borders, taxes and levies that change can be actually operationalized. In addition, the creation of course, direct air corridors has been emphasized, and this, of course, would greatly benefit connectivity. Among the many facets of relations between India and Central Asia, the development of technology, information technology in particular, and the sharing of digital technology now assumes an important position. Digital technology, end up by pointing out to a few that could be considered. There have always been proposals for an Indian university in Central Asia, and mooted in 2011, but the project never got off the ground. So this is one of the things that we could look forward to. Sericulture is an important industry in the region and is now being promoted as a small, medium-scale rural industry for employment. And sericulture, of course, and textile production is important in both the regions. Similarly, tea trade can be more organized because tea is drunk with every meal in the region. So the fact that it has been left to the unorganized sector has meant that it is actually Sri Lankan and Kenyan tea that has taken over, whereas the Indian Tea Board could actually initiate packaging and selling of teas to the region. Similarly, the tourism industry has a huge potential on both sides, and tourism not only helps with people-to-people contact, but also by actually helping to build infrastructure. Medical tourism, of course, also has a huge potential. The opening of banks and the training of banking personnel is another thing that could be useful. There are also several industries where regional value chains could be developed in and between the Central and South Asian regions. Fresh and chilled fruits, for example, processed foods, agricultural raw materials, herbs and spices, precious and semi-precious stones, garments, carpets, pharmaceuticals, and herbal medications. Now, having said all of that, there are certain issues that act as impediments to trade and connectivity between the two regions. Trade costs remain high for both the economies at the border and beyond the borders. The multiplicity of licenses, permits, and certificates affects not only makes it internationally non-competitive, but also, it does not allow the small enterprises to function, given the complexities of these measures that still exist. Also, lists of sensitive and prohibitory goods protecting domestic producers are often in conflict with trade opportunities. And I think it is some of taking into account some of these issues that would actually help in making this engagement between the two regions more meaningful. I'll just stop at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Anita Sen Gupta ji. You spoke about transit trade. We should remember that not only Bandar Abbas or Chabahar or North-South corridor, but there exists a route via China also. Nowadays, more and more goods are being exported to Central Asia and also being imported from Central Asia via Chinese ports. And Indian companies must consider that option too. As for our collaboration in IT industry, in fact, last year, there were many articles saying that Kazakhstan had become one of the major centers for cryptocurrency mining. So we shouldn't treat Central Asia as backward in IT industry. The only thing is that we can collaborate with them for artificial intelligence, robotics, and other areas. One more issue, when we export to Central Asian countries, not only the access, but within Central Asia, on Central Asian borders, as well as between Iran and Central Asia, there are many imperfections. It takes sometimes very long time, and there are many bottlenecks in customs clearance and other formalities. These have to be studied and have to be discussed among all the countries and agencies concerned. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Rajkumar Sharma to present his paper. At present, he is Senior Research Fellow at NetStat, a leading think tank in the capital. He is a PhD from the Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He has over 10 years in university teaching, research, and media. And also he has authored nearly 100 publications showcasing his expertise in the field. Over to Dr. Rajkumar Sharma.
Good afternoon, everyone. At the outset, my sincere thanks to Professor Ramakant Dwivedi sir, Lalit sir, and Ambassador Ashok Sharma. It is through the India Central Asia Foundation that I found my wings in research and, of course, academia. I'll be speaking on India Central Asia economic relations, the prospects and challenges. Some of it has already been covered by Anita ma'am. So maybe I'll try to add on what I can. Now, if you see India's economy, I mean, India's economic picture is quite clear to the world. It is going to be the top 3 by 2050. So India, what we bring to the table is that in terms of scale, the scale of India's economy, right? So it is expected that by the year 2050, India will be in the top 3, depending on certain conditions, but more or less it looks to be a certain picture. Now, if we see Central Asia's location in, it is our extended neighborhood. And if we go back to the times, ancient times, and say before 1947, then what we see is that there was people-to-people connectivity which brought trade along with itself. Ancient Silk Road is one example. But because this connectivity got broken down, because Central Asia undercame Soviet, it was not Soviet, the Tsarist Russian Empire, and we became the colony of the British. So the people-to-people connectivity was broken down, because of which the trade suffered between the two regions. Now, along with this, since then, finding a direct trade route with, when we became independent in 1947, Pakistan was created. It was carved out of India, and it created the main connectivity problem between India and Central Asia, because Pakistan would never like to give access to India because that is the shortest connectivity to Central Asia. Now, what has happened is that India's connectivity with Central Asia depends on third countries. When you have third countries in the picture, it creates bottlenecks, right? You can take the example of Afghanistan, Pakistan, as I said, right? They won't give India access. Afghanistan has been interested, but Pakistan is the main culprit. Second problem would be we are working on Chabahar in Iran, but now, again, because Iran has not been on good terms with the Americans, right? There have been sanctions on Iran, and Iran's foreign policy has brought some of the problems for, it's a sovereign choice of the country. So the way they feel it, they've been boxed up in some kind of, in the region. And, there are currently tensions between Israel and Iran. So what I'm trying to say is that, our Chabahar initiative may potentially suffer in times to come. So this is the main problem that we have. Now, if you see the trade of India's India's trade with the Central Asian countries, it is almost anything between 0.5% to 1% of India's total external trade, which is very, very less, around $2 billion, right? And of Pakistan, our bilateral trade with Kazakhstan is around $1 billion. And by the way, it has come down in last 2-3 years, because in 2021, it was $2 billion. So it has decreased by 50% almost. Indian exports to Kazakhstan are close to 580 million. And our imports from Kazakhstan are somewhere around $450 million. Our investments in Kazakhstan are around $460 million. So that is the picture for Kazakhstan. Uzbekistan, India trade is around 760 million per year. And our investments, by the way, for Uzbekistan, India is in the list of their top 10 trade partners, right? And this trade has increased, by the way, massively ever since this government has come, I think there has been a push in trade with Uzbekistan. Apart from this, what you also find is that India's investments in Uzbekistan are around $60 million. India's trade with Turkmenistan is around $113 million, while that with Kyrgyzstan is $118 million. And with Tajikistan, this is anything between 18 to, again, $100 million. So that is the trade picture that we have with Central Asian countries. As has been highlighted, the problem remains connectivity. Now, we also have energy trade, as Ashok Shah has also highlighted. But we are getting good supplies of uranium from both Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. We have nuclear deals with them. And, these countries are supporting India's transition to clean energy, right? And they're also supplying uranium to India because both Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan are one of the biggest producers of uranium in the world. So we are also building our strategic uranium reserves, like we have strategic petroleum reserves. So these are basically for emergency uses, and both Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan have been supporting India with supplies of uranium. Now, Central Asia's total population is somewhere around 80 to 85 million. And it is a region where, Indian culture is very, very popular, right? Ashok sir just highlighted that, if they want to buy anything from China, of course, they can do that. But we have an advantage in terms of our culture because, as was also highlighted in the first session, Indian movies are very, very popular, Indian clothes, Indian food. So that ways, we have had that geocultural connect that was there since history that survives in one way or the other. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that India and Central Asian republics, both the sides are politically stable and their economic growth outlook is good. So because we are very close to one another, we should look to further augment our relations in trade. And that is happening at the government level also, because in February 2020, the India Central Asia Business Council was established in Delhi within the framework of Foreign Ministers Dialogue. We have started a foreign ministers dialogue with Central Asian countries in 2019, under which we have a business dialogue as well. Apart from this, this council has 4 working groups, which are oil and gas, agro-processing and agriculture machinery, transport and logistics, and pharmaceuticals and biotechnology. There are immense opportunities available for both the sides because we are working on a free trade agreement with Eurasian Economic Union, in which Russia is the main partner, but at the same time, we have Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, which are also members of Eurasian Economic Union. So whenever we have this free trade agreement, naturally our trade with them is going to increase. I want to put some specific focus on the education sector cooperation between India and Central Asia. Indian universities are already operating their campuses. One country is Uzbekistan. Amity University and Sharda University have opened their branches in Tashkent and Andizan. And also we have Shambram University in Jizak region and Acharya University in Bukhara. I'm speaking at MERI institution, which is, there is a lot of expertise in management. I recall my recent visits to Uzbekistan where, my translator wanted to do management. And I told him that, India is one of the options, right? MERI potentially could look at some kind of overseas campus in Uzbekistan, because this is currently happening between India and Uzbekistan. Apart from this, there is also this, India can also tap into the skill development and capacity building areas like information technology, management I highlighted, the enterprises sector between India and Central Asia in areas like textiles and apparel. Because cotton fabrics, ethnic wear, saris and ready-made garments from India are likely to be popular because Indian our clothes and their ways of wearing are quite similar in a sense. All Central Asian republics produce high quality cotton. Indian textile companies may set up some integrated textile plants in the region to manufacture good quality cotton and blended fabrics. At the same time, this can be highly profitable for Indian companies, as lucrative European markets are only 10 to 12 days away from Central Asia. The Central Asian cuisine incorporates diverse spices like cumin, coriander, and turmeric. Pickles from India may find a good demand in Central Asia. Even Indian tea is quite popular. And we are talking about consumer, goods. Uzbekistan should be at the center because this is the most populous country in Central Asia in terms of the market size. Given the close historical and cultural ties that have been already highlighted, tourism is something which is changing, right? Indians are, we are going to Southeast Asia, we are going to West Asia. We also need to visit these beautiful countries in Central Asia. And, I'm happy to tell you because we have Indigo flights are there, India, Uzbekistan, India, Kazakhstan, and very soon it will be between India, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. So all 5 countries will be covered by Indian Airlines very soon. So this connectivity is already happening. I can give you some statistics because India's tourism market is going to expand by 3 times. Currently, it is 19 billion, and by in next 10 years, it will be 55 billion. By the way, and Indians are known to visit exotic places, and we are one of the tourist nations, right? So this tourism, this industry is expanding. Kazakhstan, for example, last year 80,000 Indians visited Kazakhstan mainly because of connectivity has improved. And what Kazakhstan has done is that they are giving visa-free travel to Indians for 15 days. So you have eliminated the hassles, right? So maybe other Central Asian countries can also do the same. And by the way, this was news to me also. Recently, during my visit, I came to know that in Soviet Union, cricket was not very popular, by the way. But in Uzbekistan, Uzbekistan has become an associate member of International Cricket Council recently, right? And they've started to play cricket by now. And of course, you can imagine out of 11, 5 will be Indian diaspora, but that happens almost everywhere outside India, right? So what I am trying to put it, you combine tourism, you combine Bollywood, you combine your transport. Tashkent is only 2.5 hours away from Delhi. It is like Delhi capitals traveling from Delhi to Hyderabad, right? And people are moving along that, right? So we can have this kind of connectivity where you combine sports, you combine your culture, and it can lead to a surge in tourism industry. America hosted T20 World Cup, right? America is not known to be it's more like a baseball country than the cricket country. But cricket can bring that, kind of, I think that wild card thing